Hey everyone, Jesse from Genco Design here. This video we're going to show you how we make epoxy forms / molds that don't leak. There's nothing worse than coming out to your shop the next day and having $300-400 worth of epoxy on the floor. So we use this method for everything from charcuterie boards to a big conference room table. So let's go out in the shop and get to it. We're making a large conference room table here, 9'6", I think, long by about 42 inches wide. But this method for making these forms is same way we do it for charcuterie board, clocks, anything we make with epoxy, we use this method. So that first chunk I cut off, I had to do that because we always use melamine, which comes in 4x8 sheets. So we're gonna have to extend onto a full sheet. And then we cut the sides for the box out of that leftover melamine. And I usually just use a track saw for this, make them about 3 inches tall. And track saw just works good. I work by myself all the time, and stuff's too heavy to try to manhandle through my table saw. And they don't have to be all perfect, identical. So the track saw works great for this. And we're kind of finishing up those cuts here. One thing I didn't show, I take those strips that I'm cutting, those 3-inch strips, and drill pocket holes in the side. And you'll see how those fasten down here in a couple minutes. But so there, I just brought that heavy sheet of melamine over the full sizer. I'm kind of getting it prepped to add our extension on there. I like using the dominoes on this. It just helps with line up and helps keep the thing from moving around when I throw a couple clamps on and stuff like that. It just works. We've got it, so we might as well use it. There, I kind of made a mistake. I didn't have the machine set up right, so I'm redoing a couple things. No big deal for this though, luckily. Protecting the bench here, throwing a little plastic under where that glue joint's gonna be. Just try to keep this stuff as good as I can, as long as I can, without replacing tops and stuff like that. Here we're getting a little glue in there. We're gonna get these two pieces seamed together. Then, since we don't have clamps that are 10 feet long, we like to screw a ledger board on here, use an 1¼ inch screw so they don't protrude through the bottom. And that's just a temporary board, just something for our clamp to grab onto. And we don't put much pressure on that, just enough to get them together so their seam is tight. Here we run Tyvek tape or house wrap tape, I guess it's called, but this particular one is the Tyvek brand. Home Depot has their own brand, Lowe's has their own brand. There's several of them. They all work great. All house wrap tapes seem to work great. And we cover this whole bottom with that house wrap tape as well. And I know there are other ways, mold release sprays and stuff like that. I've never tried it myself. I know this works, so I keep at it. I know this tape is expensive, but it's really nothing in the grand scheme of things with what we spend on slabs and epoxy. So, you know, this particular one took $35 worth of tape, 2 rolls, and that's just nothing compared to what everything else costs for this. So Now we're getting prepped to put the sides on. I run a bead of silicone all the way around the outer edge and then set those sides right down on top. And I pre-drilled pocket holes in those sides so we can get that downward pressure. You don't want to screw these just directly onto the side. I've done that and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. This just works. This gives you more sealer in between the two pieces, and so we've got sealer underneath that side, and when we're all said and done, we're going to put a bead of silicone all the way around the inside as well, and it just kind of doubles things up and makes sure there's no pinhole leaks or anything. And one other thing here, when you do have to seam a couple side pieces like that together, don't forget to goop that seam up good with some silicone. Now when you're done, after you're all done, you can smear some on both sides of that seam as well to prevent that stuff from leaking. The other thing, after all this silicone and stuff, I really recommend giving it a full day to dry before you start trying to pour epoxy and stuff like that. I've pushed the limits on that before too and regretted it. So just one of those things, you don't want to skimp or rush at this point. You just kind of screw your whole day up when you come out and there's $300 or $400 or $500 worth of epoxy on the floor. I always push it in with my finger too, just kind of make sure everything is good. Double, triple check this stuff. You don't want leaks. It takes so long to dry. So here's the finished product, ready for the slabs, and here's the slabs that are going to go in it. Well, that's it for this one. We're pretty new to YouTube. We're going to try to film everything we do and keep making these videos. If you come back in a week or 10 days, we'll have one on doing the pour. So please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.